You're playing golf and you're going to like it.
Time to go home there, ball.
I can make it across.
Well, then do it.
We got all of that.
Why didn't you just go home? That's your home. Are you too good for your home? Answer me.
Knock it on. Let her rip.
It's in the hole. By the way, what did Mr. Webb shoot this morning?
It's time for Gary on the Green. Gary on the Green is brought to you by Bowling Green Fireplace and Grill on Old Louisville Road and online at bowlinggreenfireplace.com. Call 270-495-1131.
Yeah, thanks for coming on back. Finishing it up today with Adam Gary, WKU head coach, Lady Tops Golf. And we've got some incredible news we're going to share with you before we get out of here. Thanks for sticking around with us for the extended version. Reds coming up next. But on the Line X hotline, without further ado, the man, the myth, the legend, Adam Gary. What's up, man?
Not much. Just hanging out in Memphis, doing a little recruiting, watching for some future Hilltoppers today. But pretty excited about the Hilltoppers that we have coming.
Walking in Memphis, walking with my feet 10 feet off a bill. So are you at Windike?
We are not. We're at Quail Chase. So
Quail Chase.
We're watching the Bubba Connolly Junior Tournament. So
nice.
Kind of brings back some memories for myself. I remember playing this event myself back in the day, back in the 90s. So
yep.
It's a good event, and some of the top recruits and top players in the South, and heck, even as far as California, they're here playing. So it's a strong field. Just kind of checking things out and seeing what's available.
I saw you have 5 birdies on the front at Windike one time. That was pretty sweet. PGA qualifier.
Right.
Man, you were right there too. I mean, you were right there. That was.
I know.
And you always were. You were right there, dude. I mean, you were always right there.
Story of my professional career.
Well,
right?
look what it's done, though. We obviously know why now. I mean, obviously it makes sense. Now, that's why I'm saying in your life, if you have ups and downs, that down usually is just another door getting ready to open. So don't get too frustrated because life just keeps progressing. And as long as you keep a good attitude, man, I mean, that's what happens. And look at you, what you've been able to do. And we're going to talk about 2 young ladies that have just done. One I know of, the other is, I think, a newer gal, and I can't wait for you to express that. But real quick, before we get there, Nate Lashley, what a story on the PGA Tour, wire to wire in his first victory. I mean, this guy's story, losing your wife, or was it his mom and his girlfriend? I can't remember.
Yeah, it was his parents and his girlfriend, both his mom and dad. And so he was I think he was a junior at Arizona playing in a tournament, and then they were flying back and then had a crash, and I think he turned pro and struggled, and I guess obviously dealing with some grief, and got out of golf, and now I guess he missed the game and wanted to get back into it. He tried to Monday qualify this week, shot 68, didn't get in, but then he got in the last alternate when
that's right.
David Bergagno, I guess, withdrew, so he was the next on the alternate list, so he got in anyway.
Wow.
And then, like you said, wire-to-wire wins, shoots 25 under, so total
2-year exemption.
Total life change.
Yeah. I mean, the guy, he's got game. He's got game, Adam.
Absolutely.
I mean, really good iron striker. I mean, I was super impressed. I was just impressed at his golf management skill. I mean, he was able to manage. He just didn't let himself get in any trouble, man. He guarded that lead the whole time.
Sometimes it's even harder when you get a big lead.
You're right.
You have like a 6-shot lead, because then you're like, well, man,
complacent.
I don't want to screw this up. And then you get really conservative, and the media was obviously kind of bringing up the story and trying to kind of promote that up. So, I mean, it was a lot to overcome, and he just looked unflappable. He was so focused. It was just destined.
I was so happy for the guy. I was like, this is the things in sports that make my heart flutter, dude. I mean, it really does. It keeps me a fan, and I mean, hats off to Nate Lashley, man. Many more wins.
And speaking of fans up in Michigan, I mean, no one probably knew Nate Lashley's name, and then by Sunday they knew the story, and they're chanting his name, and it was
doing like a Rudy.
Yeah,
I mean, that's
awesome event.
You can't get any better. I tell you what is almost equally as awesome is you had 2 Lady Tops win their state amateurs last week. That, first of all, the odds of that happening have to be astronomical. Well, what say you about this?
Right, I was just floored to have them both on the same day. So we had Lizzie Loy, who was a freshman going on sophomore, win the Kentucky State Amateur, and then we have an incoming freshman, Sarah Arnold, who won the Illinois State Am.
Unbelievable.
So, both match play events. They both had to beat college golfers.
Wow.
Just can't say enough for how much momentum that kind of helps them carry into the fall this this upcoming season. So I'm really excited to see what this season has in store for the team and for everyone else too. So
yeah, I mean,
it's gonna be fun.
What a season momentum builder before you get out of the gate here. I mean, that is just. Man, hats off. I mean, what a recruiter you are. I mean, obviously you know how to find the talent, sir.
Well, they're putting in the work. I mean, obviously that's my goal, is just to give them the tools that they need to be successful. So they're the ones putting in the hours and the time. I'm just happy to watch it unfold.
Oh, I mean, I wonder if I put a wig on and a skirt and I went out to the club, and me and Lizzie had an 18-hole battle, and I got make-upped up. She didn't know I was a guy, and I got the hit from the red tees. How bad would she beat me?
Yeah, it'd be bad.
Yeah, she's a player, man. Well,
yeah, you don't want to do that.
No, I'm not. I will save my embarrassment. I would do it for charity, though. I would do anything for charity. Hey, man, great stuff, Adam. What an awesome week for you as a coach, and your kid's out there doing some golf, and he's doing good. I mean, life is good for the Garys, man.
Yeah, life is good. Yeah, super proud of Davis. He got third place this week doing his little junior tour, so
awesome.
Hopefully he'll kind of learn to love the game a little bit too. So it's a fun time.
He looked like he was pretty tickled. Well, I saw the picture, so I mean that's a good look for him, and it reminds me of his dad back in the day. So that's awesome. And dude, look for the golf tip this week. Hey, be neat. Lastly, get those clubs out. You might find joy that you forgot you could obtain out on the links, and that's what Adam and I'd like to preach. Get outside. If it's not golf, go fishing, do something, but get out in nature, and golf is one heck of a way to do that. Adam Gary, every week, right here on Sports Webb, buddy. Appreciate you.
Thanks for having me.
Don't go anywhere. Coming up, Marty Brenneman last season and the Cincinnati Reds, brought to you by Bowling Green Refrigeration, Heating, and Cooling. Thanks for listening to the Sports Webb, ESPN 1027.
Hello, Vegas. Give me $100 on red.
Go! $200 in tips, please.
Are you a professional?
What's your bet, sir?
Bet.
Hit me.
It's a bust.
Whoa! I am on fire.
Oh, he's good. He's good.
You're a winner!
Against the Odds with Vegas Frank is brought to you by JBK Network Consulting. JBK Network Consulting. We are IP everything. Working with complex organizations to achieve measurable business outcomes is what we do. Let Jim Grant and JBK Network Consulting go to work for you. Call 270-796-8935. Visit JBK Network Consulting at 1143 Fairway Place, Suite 105, and online at jbk.net.
Welcome back to the show. Vegas Frank is on the Linex hotline against the odds all the way from sunny Las Vegas, Nevada, right here, right now. What's going on, Frank?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
Well, I'm not going to complain about it because absolutely nobody cares. Have you ever noticed that? Man, I tell you, free agency craziness Sunday night started it off, I think, and I don't know, did the Knicks, were they aware that free agency started this week, or were they thinking maybe next week?
They were aware. I don't really know if they were really concentrating. Maybe they were watching something else on television or something. I don't know what was going on. It didn't really go that great for them. Missed out, kind of like whiffed a little bit on the Kyrie and KD, sweepstakes or whatever you want to term it. I mean, it was coming out earlier on Saturday night that Kyrie had already intended to sign with Brooklyn. That was kind of like the buzz that was going on Twitter, that was kind of a done deal. And then later Saturday night, a few hours later, that was already being discussed that Kevin Durant was going to Brooklyn. So that was already done. It seems earlier in the weekend. So when we got into Sunday, a lot of people had suspected that was what was going to happen. And then the Knicks did not completely miss out. They just, as far as who they signed, I mean, they got like Julius Randle, they did sign some guys. It's just Bobby Portis, the former guard from Chicago. They got some people. It's just we're not trying to compare Julius Randle and Bobby Portis to Kyrie and Kevin Durant.
Yeah, I mean, obviously non-impactful at this point for that team. But there's some other teams that scored, though, and one that may really score if Kawhi Leonard, which there's no way I would leave Toronto. I mean, I don't understand what he's thinking, but, you just I'd say leave that team intact, do it again. I mean, they're insanely good. Why break it up? And they can pay him what he needs and what he deserves. I mean, you're going to go to New York, or you're going to go to L.A. and be a shadow behind LeBron James? I don't know, man.
Yeah, I tend to agree with you. I'll go just off of the guy who's been campaigning for this as just kind of like to reaffirm his sentiment. Jalen Rose, who, was a former Raptor and is, very behind Kawhi staying in Toronto. There's 4 teams in California, and he says that there's 2 teams in L.A. There's only 1 team in the entire country of Canada, Toronto, and you want a title for them. It would be unheard of. What about this? To think about that Kevin Durant won 2 Finals MVPs, and he leaves his team in free agency. That Iguodala obviously gets traded. He was the Finals MVP recently in the last 5 years, and the current Finals MVP. I mean, the guy was just ridiculous this playoff. I mean, to leave through free agency. Have we ever seen that kind of movement? Are Kevin Durant and Kyrie leaving their teams, both averaging 20-plus points a game, to both go in free agency to another team? It's unbelievable. It's unheard of.
What are some other hot takes that personally Frank's coming away with what's transpired thus far during free agency free-for-all?
Well, looking forward as far as what teams have done, I really like what the Jazz have done in the West. Obviously, getting Mike Conley in the trade earlier prior to free agency. I really like what they've done, and obviously, not losing the spider, Donovan Mitchell, him staying there. Rubio moves on. You kind of have to move the pieces around to get Connolly. They add Bogdanovich in free agency. I really like that guy a lot. I think that the Jazz are going to be sneaky good in the West. I think they could be one of those 2 or 3, top seeds in the West. I really like the Jazz a lot this year.
All right, well, I'll tell you what, we'll see where that goes, but always fun time of the year when you're talking about all these moves being made. It's a chess game. Usually things don't come about the way you thought they would. That's what I like about it, but there's still some head scratchers always. We'll see what happens. Moving on, Vegas Frank on the Linux Hotline. Man, what about some first of all, Phil Steele's book came out. I know you've read a little bit of it. We're going to have discussion in the future, obviously, on that topic, but some guys still haven't signed up, committed. I mean, it's weird. I thought that stuff was already over, but I guess it goes on until the last second. But breaking it out right now, I mean, it's still kind of who we saw up at the top last year. I mean, not going to be a whole lot of movement this year as far as the rankings go.
No, not really. And I mean, the 4 playoff teams that we had last year, you could probably say that those are going to be the 4 playoff teams that we get this year as well. Maybe you have a surprise team, but I mean, I don't really know who you would say the contender. Maybe Oregon. I mean, maybe a Utah or a Washington as well. They try to have balance so that all the conferences are represented. Is this the year that Michigan finally breaks through, that they don't have to deal with Ohio State, kind of spoiling their season essentially every year?
I bet you
this be the year.
You know how on some of the old video games you could run I forget what you call it, but they run a game like here's how it would come out, or they do it in stocks and they run
a simulation.
Yeah, simulation.
Yeah.
I was thinking stimulation, Vegas Frank, and I don't know. Wow. But Harbaugh has already simulated the whole season for 2019 and 2020. He already knows the outcome. He's simulated it like 70 times. That guy, I mean, he's probably already he's in mid-season right now with schemes already, and he barely knows his schedule.
No, I mean, and again, too, I mean, if they don't win the conference this year, and if they're not in the running for a playoff spot this year, I don't know what you do if you're Michigan, if you're Harbaugh, because they don't have any more excuses. I mean, for all the hype and speculation and buzz about this guy finally breaking through and getting to this point, if they can't do it now, I don't know if he's going to do it. I don't know how his future looks like for Michigan, because I mean, you don't have any more excuses.
Oh my goodness gracious! And there's a headline out, and I haven't read anything about it. I probably shouldn't even comment on it, but it's just the irony of it. I've heard where Louisville's quality control staffer was charged with theft. Is that not just a misnomer? I mean, that's not
goodness.
That's not good. I don't know this. Allegedly, I don't know. I didn't read the story. I shouldn't have commented. I just saw something about it over the wire. Hey, Frank, what's going on in Las Vegas, man? I mean, have you been in the sportsbook this week? Are you betting much baseball?
Not a lot of baseball. Kind of cooling on baseball as of right now. We'll kind of wait everything out until we get through the All-Star break. Right now, everybody's kind of on cruise control anyway until they get the All-Star break. All-Star break is earlier than it traditionally will be.
Huh.
Starting I think next Tuesday. I think is the All-Star game. So I mean, it's kind of a schedule-wise, it's a little unique, but we'll start to lock in a little bit and get some, look for some tighter numbers when we get closer. Dodgers obviously look good, and they're a publicly bet team here because of the proximity to Los Angeles here in Vegas. So, I mean, those numbers are always going to be a little bit skewed because you want to draw in enough action on both sides. A lot of people starting to bet futures bets with NBA teams. There was a unconfirmed $10,000 wager last on the Lakers to win the championship.
Oh, wow.
So, I mean, we'll have to wait and see what happens with that.
Yeah.
We got NBA Summer League starts this Friday, so everything starts to get ramped up a little bit. July is going to fly by. So,
yeah,
I mean,
it will.
We thought June
was
fast.
July
is going to fly, but yeah, it's going to fly by.
So
July's it's fast.
So June was like Willie Mays Hayes. July is going to be like Carl Lewis.
There you go. That's good.
About 90 feet. Man, I tell you, well, first of all, Conference USA, man, with teams like Charlotte, North Texas, Old Dominion, Rice, UAB, UTEP, UTSA, Marshall, the Thundering Herd, Louisiana Tech, Florida International. I mean, pretty good. This conference is not bad, dude. I mean, people give it I don't see why. There's some solid teams in there, plus one WKU.
No, you're absolutely right. They're not the power conferences. I mean, for their competition, their competitive level. I mean, they've been so much fun to watch the last few seasons. As far as the scoring and everything else, they've been a lot of fun to watch. Teams like the Tops are going to be able to showcase a little bit. They have that, that neutral site game, I want to say, with Louisville, and the game later in the season they'll be playing Arkansas. You're getting games against against a Power 5 conference, they want to say, quote-unquote, Power 5 conference teams. First ever meeting with Arkansas when they play them later in the year. I think that game's in, November or something. But that game against Louisville is going to be good. Played them really close last year. I'm looking forward to that a lot. I think that the experience for the receiving core, I mean, Lucky Jackson, those guys, that everybody's coming back. For the most part, they're going to have a lot of depth at receiver. I think this year, I like the Tops. To put up some points this year.
Yeah.
I think the defensive side is going to might be a little challenging, but I think that Helton's going to have them ready. I think it's going to be a fun year.
I agree with you, Frank, and I like the schedule. I like what they're doing, kind of like Stansbury's doing with basketball. Hey, we'll put us up against this one and that one. We'll show you what we're worth. We're tired of hearing, that little CUSA school down there. They make a stir, but they're not going to stick. We stick, man. We've got some titles, and I'll tell you what. After 6 years, and to be boastful and kind of brag, pretty cool. 6 years ago, I was given the microphone and got to be there for our actual induction into the Conference USA, and we did that at a restaurant downtown. And man, I got to be with Ransdell and Brom, and the excitement of it was probably one of my biggest moments ever. Getting to be up there on stage with all these coaches and being able to say, hey, we're part of this new conference. And since then, through the first 5 years, Frank, WKU has a conference best total league titles of 25, man. And the next closest school in Conference USA only has 16. So I think we made a stir, didn't we?
No, I absolutely agree with you. I think that just for the culture, I think it's been really good the last few seasons. You mentioned the 25 conference titles. It's been really good for them, and it's exciting to see what's going to happen going forward. The Tops in football, in particular, is what I'm just referring to.
Yeah.
They had a little bit of a hiccup last year, a little bit of a step back.
Sure.
But I think that this year, but with the experience, everything else going forward, I think it's going to bode well for them. At Conference USA, really, there's not a lot of separation between the teams. I don't think
There's not.
It's going to be a good season.
It's going to be a good season to watch and a good season to be part of as a Hilltopper fan, because I'm not saying we're going to win every game, but we're definitely going to have a 180 from last year. And I think our fans, we just want to go see exciting games that we're in it to the end, or we pulling away or whatever. But we want to see some fun football again and some offense, man. And Hilton's going to do that. No question about it. He was there doing it with Brom. So, I mean, maybe not the same names on the backs of the jerseys, but I think we're going to see a lot of the same type of game situations and what we got used to seeing, Frank, and that bodes well for him, and I'm excited about it. We'll move on to what about some UFC? Let's talk a little NFL, because I mean we're right on top of preseason, man. I mean it'll be here before you know it. The Titans, I think they're poised for another playoff run.
No, I agree. I think that Mariota right now is probably going to be pushed a little bit by Tannehill. I mean, I don't think that Tannehill is really going to take the spot from him, but I think that this is something that kind of motivates Marcus and kind of pushes him. I've always been a big fan of Mariota, even when he was in college in Oregon. I loved watching him play. I saw a ton of his games when he was playing at Oregon. I really enjoy the guy. I really want to see him be successful, and I think that this could be a year that he's pushed forward. There's no reason why they couldn't use both of these guys. They've got a lot of skill position players around them, but there's no reason why they couldn't use both of these guys. And I know that I've said this multiple times before. Tannehill used to play receiver in college. Tannehill is an athlete. If you have athletes on the field, it's always an advantage to you to have as many athletic positions on the field, especially when you're on offense. There's no reason why they couldn't put both of these guys on the field at the same time to catch them off guard. You know that Mariota is a trickster. He likes to move around. He's mobile. So is Tannehill. Put them on the field together. See what happens.
And then you got a guy like veteran Adam Humphries that you can just kind of dice and slice through there. And then you keep them guessing. You keep their head on a swivel, Frank. I mean, that's how you win games. But here's the thing. Have you seen the Titans' schedule out of the gate, man? They're going to have the pesky Browns, who are going to be I'm going to tell you, they got a chance to win a Super Bowl this year. I know that's outlandish, but I'm saying it. And then you got a resurged Colts team. Recharged, I meant to say. And then you've got a Jaguars team that they're going to be a little tougher this year. And then you follow up with the Falcons week 4. I mean, my gosh, man. And it doesn't get much easier. Maybe the Bills there in October, that's when it starts getting a little easier. But, I mean, if the Titans can get through that first quarter of the season there, maybe 3-1, I mean, then they've got a really good chance, No,
I agree with you. I think that first month of the season is hard. It's kind of like we're looking at historical records because we're always looking at that because you're trying to get an advantage when
patterns,
you're doing your investment. Yeah, some type of pattern. They're 5-0 in their last 5 games after they play the Jaguars.
Oh,
okay?
Wow.
So week 3, that means that they'd be playing at Atlanta. They also have 10 days off because that Jacksonville game is a Thursday night game. They play at Jacksonville and they play at Atlanta, so they have 10 days off in between those games. So we start to look at those kind of trends. They're also 0-10 before Thursday games.
Oh,
so that's the Colts game, right?
Yep.
So one of those trends is going to have to kind of reverse itself.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think that first month of the season is going to be really tough. I think that Cleveland game to open the season is going to be great. I mean, how a lot of people are buzzing about the Browns. I'm not as sold on them as most. I do think they're going to be competitive. I do think that they're a borderline playoff team. I think they've got a lot of talent. They could be making a serious run, if they start getting some things together. We'll see.
Serious. I just feel a serious run, like front page every Monday morning run. Baker Mayfield in the news, the next Tom Brady, the next Brett Favre.
Brett Favre? Yeah.
Favre. Frank, we're getting close here, man. What you got a final thought?
Well, we're looking at UFC this weekend. We're going to talk about, obviously, the co-main events, both title fights, Holly Holm and Nunez, the Lioness.
Man, she's unbelievable. Gosh.
She is. She's fierce. And then John Jones, obviously, against Thiago Santos, kind of an up-and-comer. John Jones should kind of probably put a beat down on him. But a little side note, in one of the undercards, Michael Chiesa is going to be fighting Diego Sanchez
It's going to be Diego Sanchez's 30th fight in the UFC. And his 41st fight overall. It's kind of a big deal. You come a long way from the Ultimate Fighter back in the day when we used to go watch those Ultimate Fighter showdown things. So that was 14 years ago, 2005.
Holy cow.
Feel old yet?
Yeah, I was hanging out with you in 2005. That's really a long time ago, man, because I haven't got to do that. Well, I came out for a stint there and got to hang with you. But, yeah, man, that's good stuff. I mean, UFC, it's getting to be like my go-to. I check it out as soon as I do NFL and NBA. That's how much I'm just so into it, man. I love it. Frank, we're into you on Vegas Frank Against the Odds here on your 102.7. Hey, man, appreciate it. Great time hanging out today. Have a great 4th of July, man. God bless America.
You as well. Count all your fingers. You got the same out there.
M80s for all. We'll be right back. Sports Webb, ESPN 102.7.